Okay, I'm so amped up. Today we're gonna learn hooks. Crowd was wild. Yeah.
We didn't introduce it the right way. That's why
Well,
we didn't know.
ladies and gentlemen, coming to you in the near future. All right, let's get our party shirts on. All right. So we're gonna start off with the basics. So we've already learned one hook. Who remembers what the hook was? Isaiah? Use params, right? So there's something you'll notice about hooks. Hooks all start with the word use, right? Okay, so we got hooks. Captain, hooks, right? All start with use. Okay? That's how you can identify a hook. This is the convention. Okay, so there's a lot of built-in hooks. You can also create your own hooks. But if you create your own hook, you should start it with the word use so that everyone knows this is a hook. Okay? A hook is a function. Okay? That's going to allow us to do some stuff, something. Okay, so we're going to start off with the two most common hooks. With just these two hooks, you can pretty much do everything that we've been doing so far. Okay, so those two hooks are use, state.
Oh yeah.
What do we think this has to do with?
The state.
State, applicate like component state, right? And use effect. Okay, what do we think that has to do with? That one's different, right? That one's a little less obvious. So effect there is part of the word side effect.
Okay.
So what's something that we get in React, components that we don't get in hooks that we use for side effects? What is something that we've been getting in React class components that we don't get in functional components that we've been using for the side effects? Isaiah?
I was going to say state.
Well, state we're going to use here. Use state.
Methods.
Can you be a little more specific? I keep hearing methods.
Like component.
What? Component did not. What's that called?
Life cycle.
Life cycle methods, right? This is going to replace, with use effect, we can use, you can think of it as component did mount. I'm just going to do shorthand. Component, I don't know why I did that. Component did update, and component will unmount. Okay, I'll just that's what these stand for. We're going to be able to do any of these three with use effect. Okay, so that's been pretty much all the lifecycle methods we've used up to this point, yeah? Besides render, which functional components don't have a render, and constructor, which we won't need, because we'll be passing props directly, and we can use our own state. So everything will now be done in a functional component. So now there's stateful components and stateless components, or just a stateful component, or you could call it a presentational component if it has no state. No state is presentational. Right? It's no longer enough to say functional component because that could be with state or without state. Right? And then there's custom hooks, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, so this is going to be great. I hope you're as amped up as I am. Let's see how this works, starting with just use state. Okay, so let's go ahead and
Where does use state come from?
well, you're going to see it, but it's going to come from React.
Oh, it's just React.
So I'm going to go ahead and create a different form. I'm going to call this login. Login.js. Okay, and I'm going to import. Still going to do the same thing as always. React from React. Not going to use component or anything like that because we're no longer doing that. I'm going to do const login. Right, this should all look, none of this is new, yeah? Export default login. I'll just return null for now. Okay, save that, cool. And now let's go ahead and import this in our app. So go to our app. Just gonna import login. All right, this is just the setup stuff. This isn't really the exciting hook stuff. And then let's go ahead and just make a route for that. So I'm gonna start writing routes in the way with the opening and closing because that's the way it's done now. And we'll say login, which is self-closing, right? And this route, we should give it a path. We'll say login, great, slash login. And that should probably be JSX, right? Okay, so now I've got a path for the login. No big deal, yeah? I could add this to the navbar. I don't really feel like it. I can just go to the page directly for this example. So let's go ahead to our login. We should see absolutely nothing but the navbar. And that's what we get. Great. So let's start doing use state. So let's first write this how we would have written this before. Okay, so let's start thinking about it as a class and then we'll make our updates, okay? So we'll go to our login. And I'm just going to comment this out for now. And I'm going to make a class component. Call it login. Okay, so what should a login have? What are some things that we would care about? Username. What else?
Password.
Password. That's good. That's enough, right? So before we would write that and we would have our state here and we would say username and we would start that as empty and then we would have password, right? I was deciding on how I wanted this to look. And maybe for this, just for this exam, forget it. Yeah, Sim.
These are important because we're going to put on external drive.
Thank you. Yep.
There's an extension. So I copied that, and now I'm just like hit enter, and like as it saved, it just automatically imported, did object destruction for component. But
Oh, well, that's okay. Yeah, there's.
yeah, it was automatic.
Well,
Like I know that I've done it that way. I'm like,
it might be used to. I can do MPRC and it will do it, but I don't know if that's built in or just an extension I have. You might have some code snippet extension. Okay, so this is that. Now keep in mind the traditional class component still has a constructor, still has super, right? And has all of these method bindings, right? So the first thing I would put inside of my render here is, let's say, a form. Oops. Form, and let's go ahead and just make a couple inputs. Right, I could put these in with labels and all that as well. Right now, I'm just gonna not care. Okay, so those are good for accessibility purposes. Yeah, for screen readers and whatnot, it knows what things are. But right now, no one in this class is blind, so I'm just going to ignore that. If you are having trouble seeing, though, please let me know. Okay, and I am going to add an on change, where I will just say this dot handle change. I'm going to do that again here. I'll give these a name property, where I'll just say username and a name property here that's password. Right. So this so far has been review, right?
Just real quick, can you, quick refresher, why are an input wait
Because I'm going to use that in order to only make one handle change method. Otherwise, I'll have two handle change methods. I can write it like that first if you want. Okay, just ignore the name property for now. And we'll call this handle name change, and we'll call this handle password change. And then I'll also have a listener on my form for on submit. I will write this dot handle form. Okay, that seems fine. What am I missing on my inputs? Anything? Yeah, Henry? Not on the input. I'm not missing. Keyed is for iteration purposes only. Placeholder. Okay, well, we could add a placeholder. What? No. What? Why, Doug? Sure. Type is a thing. It's going to default to string.
What are you missing?
What am I missing?
Missing
Henry?
something.
No. I should have a button in the form. That's not part of the input tag. I will add a button for the form though, because I also did forget that.
Value.
A value. Yeah. Why is that important, Brutus? Why do we have a value on inputs?
It's a control, because it's a controlled input.
That's right. It's a controlled input. These should always be controlled. So I'm going to go ahead and destructure these ahead of time. So I'm going to call this username. And this value will be password.
So what are we going to use the value for besides the input value?
It mirrors the state.
Oh, it mirrors the state.
So
But
the
isn't that
input
what
will
you
be
try-
the same thing as the state.
So isn't that what you try to do with the input.name?
This?
Yeah.
No.
For the handler?
The handler.
No, you're right. Yeah. Okay, I get it.
So, okay, hang on. So we have our username here that we're destructuring and our password. So we will take this out of this dot state, right? That way I can just pass those things in. Now, and this should be a string. But we can ignore these for right now anyway. We're not going to use them. So let's go ahead and, so the value is necessary in React. I mean, you can get away without writing it, but it's bad practice. And if anyone looks at it who knows React, they'll think you don't know how to properly write it. Unless there's a purposeful intention to reason why you don't have it. If the reason is because I don't know it, remember, that's not good enough. We have to know, because we want our values of inside of our inputs to be controlled. So we want the state and the value in them to match up. That way, we could even be saving things as the user's typing, right? We could be sending information into the back end and stuff. It's the standard practice. Okay, so let's go ahead and write our methods. So we have a handle form. Maybe I should have called that handle submit. That would probably be slightly better name. Handle submit. And we can write this in ES6 style if we don't want to have to bind, right? I'll say e.prevent. Default behavior is what?